When most people think of the Taiwan Strait, they think of it as a hotspot for regional tensions. But it's also home to a beautiful archipelago that contains most of the country's outlying islands. In case you missed it, we've got a whole program full of our favorite reports from the Penghu Islands. I'm Andrew Ryan, and first up today, we begin with an insider's look with a former county chief.
A pair of hearts used for catching fish, an underwater national park, and a cactus cocktail. These are just some of the things you'll find in Penghu, an island chain once known as the Pescadores, or Fisherman Islands in Portuguese.
With over 90 islands, Penghu is the largest archipelago in all of Taiwan. And as you can see, it's a great place for some fun in the sun. But strangely enough, for our first stop today, we're headed somewhere where the sun don't shine. So where's the Penghu County Chief taking us?
这个地方呢，就是龙门的避所阵地。亮起来了，就是日本啊占领澎湖的时候，我们的村民啊挖出来的一个避所阵地哈。
That was more than 100 years ago. After the Japanese left in the late 1940s, Taiwan's army took over the tunnel and used it as a base for preventing beach landings by Chinese troops. The county chief gives me a tour of the underground labyrinth, which is more than 700 meters long. In some places, it's only 60 centimeters wide. And with the soundtrack of explosives piped in on speakers, it feels like we've landed in a Cold War movie. The tunnel can hold 150 soldiers, and there's everything from a kitchen to a munitions depot and bunkers for sharpshooters. Now what's fascinating is the tunnel fell into disuse and lay hidden underground for years until it was discovered in 2009. They opened it up to the public in 2020, a century after it was first built. And the descendants of the people who dug the tunnels, well, they're now the caretakers. They cleaned up the area above ground and gave it the name Marine Debris Park.
你看那个都很便宜的东西啊，都是海货啊，海上飘来的，捡回来的，这样子把它一点一滴把它做成。海货是国际的潮流，但是呢，澎湖人呐，在地球的这一个小角落，每个人呐都弯下腰来，然后把海货捡起来。
The county is also preparing to welcome back, get this, cruise ships.
我们现在呢，已经在盖这个深水码头。 那么将来可以停国际邮轮大概是75000吨。
So what can tourists do in Penghu? The obvious answer is water sports. But the county chief says there's a good reason why you might want to come for the culture too.
澎湖的历史文化是早于台湾。澎湖呢有4次战争，第一次跟第2次都是跟荷兰。 那么澎湖呢，在400多年以前呢，就开始接触到西方的文物。第3次呢是法国来占领澎湖，第4次呢就是日本。
所以其实澎湖从很早以前就跟国际接轨过。
对。
Penghu is also home to Taiwan's oldest temple dedicated to Matsu, the goddess of the sea. She's revered by seafaring peoples across Asia. So it's no surprise that she's popular in a place where boating, fishing, and seafood are all part of everyday life. Now, no trip to Penghu would be complete without some island hopping, but don't expect to visit all 90 islands.
有些无人岛你是没有办法上去的，像我们那个东海很多岛都是冤鸥怨鸥他们繁殖的地方，那个都是环保区，不能上去有一些是迁村大概我如果有印象的话，大概20几个岛上去过。
Lai suggests a trip to see one of Penghu's most iconic symbols.
七美一个很有名的就是双星石斧，在古早以前我们澎湖祖先的智慧，他把石斧围好了以后，在石中捉鱼。
Before I leave Penghu, I decide to visit the historic village of Arkhan on the island of Xiyu. It's a 400-year-old settlement that's home to the Chen family. One of the Chens, Chen Lijun, has been making drinks from prickly pears, the local cactus fruit. She pairs them with ingredients like pineapples, lemons, and yogurt.
那还可以加就是啤酒嘛哈，就像调酒，像鸡尾酒，它叫梦中情人。
是喝完之后就会遇到你的梦中情人吗？
对，应该哦。
Cheers. That's delicious. Has a little bit of a kick because of the alcohol. It's got some lemon to make it nice and sour. And of course the beautiful red fruit, this prickly pear, which everybody just calls cactus here. Great stuff. Thank you.
There's one final stop in my trip to Penghu, a place called Daguoye at the southern tip of Xiyu. It's home to a breathtaking expanse of volcanic rock.
澎湖遍地都是玄武岩嘛，柱状玄武岩很漂亮澎湖呢，事实上就是上帝的石雕公园，在于这种地形地势这个老外就会赞赏不绝了。
What's amazing about these rock formations is that they lay hidden below the surface of the earth for centuries. It wasn't until the Japanese came here in the early 1900s and began digging to create a harbor that they discovered these magnificent columns. And that's what I love about Penghu. You may come here prepared with all sorts of things to do while you're here, but every time, without fail, there are new things waiting for you to discover. Kama Xu, Alex Chen, Peachy Drong, and Andrew Ryan for TaiwanPlus. Now, a little bit later on in our program, we're going to tell you more about those cactus cocktails. But first, we're going to show you how a temple in Penghu has returned some turtles to the sea. Researchers released them in November of 2022. They fitted them with monitoring devices to see how they would adapt to life in the wild. Stash Butler has the story.
For this sea turtle, it's been a long journey back to the ocean. 50 years after being rescued from fishing nets, this and 4 other turtles are now back in the sea. For decades, they've lived on Taiwan's Penghu Island in a pool at a Taoist temple, the only legal sanctuary in the country. But this year, 3 of the temple's 8 turtles died because of overcrowding and poor water quality. That's why researchers decided to release the rest back into the wild.
确认他们这些体表以及游泳的行为正常，而且也能够自行的捕食的情况底下，达到我们野放的标准。
Conservation workers put a tracking device on one of the green sea turtles and the rarer loggerhead. Researchers hope this will help them understand the animal's migration patterns.
能够定期的回报它的那个位置的资讯。 让我们了解海龟野放之后它的回游的情况。
But not everyone is convinced that releasing the turtles into the hazards of the ocean after a lifetime of captivity is a good idea.
海底的废弃物或者渔网都有可能造成海底生物的损伤，即使就是野生的，它都有可能会有这个误触渔网的问题。
Turtle populations at a nearby nesting haven have dwindled in the last 2 decades. Researchers hope this group of sea turtles can make it safely past the perils of the sea and give scientists precious insight into how to save their species. Howard Zhang and Stash Butler for TaiwanPlus.
Everybody loves a mascot, but now a new sculpture in Penghu is drawing quite a bit of attention for its kitschy design. Leslie Liao has more.
They say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And this new oyster mascot in Taiwan's outlying Penghu County is certainly something to behold.
上班的路途来看一下实地到底是怎么样，但真的没有想象中的那么好看。
The mascot is in Penghu's Chengqian village, which is known for its oysters. This landmark is meant to draw more tourists to the area, but it's also drawing locals who have heard about its unconventional appearance.
在地人也会来朝圣真的就觉得这边的牡蛎就是很肥，就很肥滋滋，看起来就肥滋滋的，肥滋滋的，感觉很好吃。
This isn't the first time a Taiwanese mascot design has drawn attention. Southern Taiwan's Banana King and Milkfish Boy have also been mocked online. Then there's Changhua County's mascot, which is just a personified map of the area. And in the north, there's the human-headed butterfly. Whatever your opinion on these mascots is, it can be argued that they're having their intended effect. After all, if people are willing to travel to see them, then they're doing their job. Howard Zhang and Leslie Liao for TaiwanPlus.
If you visit Taiwan's outlying islands of Penghu, you might be surprised to find the coastline dotted with cactus, which are native to Mexico. When I visited the islands, I met a woman who's using them to create cactus cocktails and learned how Penghu is overcoming its prickly past.
At first glance, it looks like some sort of berry juice. Maybe raspberries? Nope, this bright fuchsia color comes from something a little pricklier.
算澎湖的特产哈，仙人掌果哈，那我们要经过熬制。
This is a prickly pear, and inside there's beautiful red fruit waiting to be devoured.
These days, you'll find these cacti growing wild along the shores of Penghu. But Chen Lijun tells me that it was actually the Dutch who planted them in the 17th century.
它是1645年从墨西哥引进的，就是防卫用的啦，大部分都在军事基地会比较多。
And if you think these prickly pears are dangerous on the outside, wait till you get a load of what's on the inside. It's almost like they've been booby-trapped by Mother Nature.
吃就在这里，奶奶就嘱咐我们说，就这个不能吃哦，吃了会卡在喉咙，会变哑巴啦。其实不是啦，因为我们澎湖那时候没有耳鼻喉科，就必须假如说你卡到了，一定要到台湾。
These days, Penghu is a very different place than it was 50 years ago. There are plenty of good doctors, and in the village of Arkan, many of the old houses have been restored, bringing a steady stream of tourists. And Chen Lijun has come up with some interesting ways to make money off the prickly pears she ate as a little girl.
我们可以加凤梨下去打，凤梨跟仙人掌的组合，就像樱桃一样。那我们还可以加柠檬汁，喜欢喝酸的，那边就很棒了。还可以加优酪乳，
这样会怎么样？
它味道会比较顺。
But perhaps the most interesting ingredient she uses?
加啤酒，加1/4颗柠檬丢进去，搅拌就可以啦，就像调酒，像鸡尾酒。
Cheers. That's delicious. Has a little bit of a kick because of the alcohol. It's got some lemon to make it nice and sour. And of course the beautiful red fruit, this prickly pear, which everybody just calls cactus here.
Now, a lot of things had to happen in order for me to drink this cactus cocktail. The Dutch had to bring the plants from Mexico. The farmers had to risk their fingers harvesting them. And Chen Lijun had to come up with an unusual way to sell it. It's almost like these prickly pears are a metaphor for something.
我觉得澎湖人是不是有点像仙人掌啊？
很任性，就是很能吃苦啦。它越贫瘠的土地有没有种出来越好。
The cacti of Penghu were once planted to keep away unwanted guests, but today they're drawing welcome tourists who won't have to worry about a prickly reception. Kamashu and Andrew Ryan for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for joining me on this island adventure. I'm Andrew Ryan. Finally today, we're going to wrap up with some more images from Penghu. Take care, and we'll see you next time.
For more stories from Taiwan and around the world, download the TaiwanPlus app and follow us on social media.